Oh, hey there. Welcome to Learning Labs. If you're watching this video, this is episode 2 of Body Systems and Science. In this chapter, we're going to talk about everything there is to know about circulatory system, how it works, what it involves, and what's its job, essentially. So the circulatory system, it transports substances around our body. It delivers essential nutrients to every one of our cells, and it helps transport waste products to waste disposal sites. Okay, so that's like the lungs, the skin, and the kidneys. All right, so 3 names here that are listed: transports, nutrients, and waste. Okay, that's the big 3 jobs. Well, the circulatory system is a moving company, essentially. It is an organ system that includes the heart, blood vessels, and the blood itself. Okay, 3 things. It also means it has 3 functions. Okay, function number 1 is to transport. Okay, you got to transport the blood, essentially. But what else are you transporting? Nutrients and oxygen. Okay, number 2 is to defend the body, all right, against invasions of harmful diseases, bacteria, or infections. Okay, those are harmful organisms that are trying to take over the body. But white blood cells within the body, we'll learn about this in a bit, they go and they attack that area of injury or infection. And then finally, the last one is to maintain body temperature. Okay, you might be asking yourself, what is blood? Blood is, it circulates, okay? It circulates through the body, delivering the nutrients and removing waste materials. Okay, blood is actually made up of a couple types of blood in there, actually, right? A couple things here. So you have red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, all suspended in this weird fluid called plasma. All right, let's take a look at that. Here it is. So if I took a little piece of blood out of you, like that, stick it out, look at it in a tube, this is the percentage of what is in there, okay? So you can see some of it is red, some of it is yellow, some of it is a little bit clear. Let's take a look. What does all this mean? Our first one here, plasma. Okay, this is about 55% of the blood. That's crazy. I thought that blood would be mostly made up of red blood cells, right? But actually, it's mostly plasma. What's the point of plasma? Well, it's the liquid made up of proteins and minerals and salt and water that suspend everything else in the blood. Okay, it's like the liquid to move stuff. If we just had red blood cells, which are like little pebbles, I would think, rolling in your blood, it wouldn't get far easy. There's a lot of friction and be hitting the walls and stuff and not getting far. But if you put it in a liquid, like an oil, and then we push it down, that's much easier, right? If we put it in water, it'll go down much easier. Just like when you swallow a pill for like you taking your allergy meds every morning, right? You need to put it in some water and it goes down nice and easy. But if you try to swallow it by itself with no water, it's gonna hurt your throat a little bit. Red blood cells, okay? So this part is the red blood cells. This is crazy. Your body produces 2 million RBC, red blood cells, every second. What? That's insane. So if you get cut, don't worry about bleeding out. We'll make that back in about maybe 2 minutes, right? RBC, red blood cells, are responsible for carrying oxygen from your lungs to your cells and for carrying the CO2 that's created by your cells back to your lungs where it is exhaled. Okay, so we'll learn about this when we talk about the respiratory system. But when you breathe in, there's blood that goes into your lungs and the alveoli, it's called, and they transfer. So the oxygen here is all floaty, comes in here, captured by the red blood cells, goes back into the heart, and the heart pushes it. Okay, go. We need you to go to the legs. This guy's walking around so much. Legs needs oxygen to keep functioning. So they go down to the legs, they get down to the muscles. Okay, you get your quadriceps, they're working hard, and they come there with the package. This Amazon delivery. Here's some oxygen, here's some nutrients too to fix up a little bit. The muscle, the quads say, thank you so much. This is gonna help us function better. Here, some CO2 that we used or created when we used up the last bit of oxygen that you gave us. So here's some garbage, we don't need it. All right, and it's actually toxic for the body, so you gotta get rid of it quick. Blood says, I got this, I'm gonna take it back to the lungs until the lungs get rid of it. So the blood goes back up through the veins or is it the arteries? Goes back to the veins, back to the chest where the lungs are, and the lungs take that CO2 and after you breathe in, breathe out. There it is. CO2 left the body. We are not toxic anymore. We are saved. Good job, circulatory and respiratory system. What is next? We have the white blood cells. A small portion, but very important. Look at this crazy monster looking thing. This is a WBC, white blood cell, okay? What is its job? These are your military, okay? This is your Navy SEALs, your fighter jets, your Marines, everybody. These guys are defending your body from attacks by foreign organisms, okay? Bacteria and viruses. They form antibodies, okay? They protect the body from those future attacks. So they remember, like if I saw an enemy and he had a sword and a shield, okay? And I've never seen this guy before. I've never seen a sword or a shield. I attack him first time. I might get hurt a couple times. We might battle for a bit. Eventually I take him down with my buddies because white blood cells, there's a bunch of them. We take him down. Then we remember, we teach it in the schools, for the white blood cell schools, that you see a guy with a sword and a shield, this is how you attack him, this is how you win. You got to get behind the shield, this is how you do it, okay? So next time he comes in, we kill him, we take him out in half that time, right? And less of us have to get injured. That's all the white blood cells and the immune system does, all right? So if you look at this monster, that monster's actually on our team. That's our army guy in there, okay? The pathogen right there, that is the enemy, the guy with the sword and the shield. We go and we engulf this guy, we eat him, and then we pick apart his DNA and we explode him from the inside out. Once we take him down, we memorize that DNA. That's what a vaccine is. So a vaccine is putting a dead version of a pathogen, putting a dead version of him or a very small amount of him into the body so that our warriors can then see him, kill him, and memorize how to kill him. Platelets. What the heck is a plate? We got plates in our body? I don't know what you're talking about. Platelets is all about when you get cut and you start bleeding. Platelets are the guys who help stop the bleed. They're the guys who create the scars, right? So they turn clotting agents into fibrin. Fibrous, remember it's like, remember I told you about the steel rods in buildings that give it some structure and some form? So it's not loosey-goosey, it's a little bit strong. That's what platelets are. They're little strong bits that heal the wounds, okay? They collect around the edges of the wound. So you'll see if you ever get a scab, like you accidentally cut yourself or you got hurt on your bike, you'll see it starts healing from the outside in. Okay, that's where the platelets are working. They're creating that fibrous to close the wound so it doesn't let stuff get into the body. Remember, the skin, the epithelial, is there to protect the body from stuff getting into it. So they got to close that as fast as possible, so they go from the outside in. They close it up so they can start healing as well as stop the bleeding. First they create that barrier and then they release chemicals and they call everybody, hey, we got to heal this guy up. He's injured here. Maybe there's a bit of an infection, call the white blood cells, call the army in here. Make sure we're all good. Okay, we're good. We're healed up. Blood vessels. Like I said before, blood vessels are like the road system, right? It's a bunch of highways, bunch of alleyways, streets, bridges, everything. The major difference is that the roads in the body are all one-way traffic. Red here. Red means it's oxygenized, okay? Oxygenated, that's what it's called. The blue means there's no more oxygen in there. We've used it up, and now it's empty. And we're coming back with CO2, actually. Capillaries is in both, red and blue. Why is that? Because capillaries are your house streets and your avenues where the packages are actually delivered. If you live in an apartment complex, okay, all those little hallways that lead to your building and other people's, your neighbors and stuff, those are your capillaries. Okay, that's where the transfers are occurring. Let's take a look. Arteries. So yeah, they carry the oxygenated blood away from the heart. Let's see. So the arteries are much thicker than veins because arteries are carrying the vital blood with the vital pieces of oxygen and nutrients to where it needs to go. If it's cut or severed in some way because it was too thin, well, we lose all that oxygen and no way to fuel the body and we will die fast, right? So they must be thick so they can protect themselves. So here we have a diagram where up here is the heart, the red side, pumping blood. Red means oxygenated, okay? It goes down those thick roads, the arteries, down into the capillaries, See this mesh of weird nastiness, looks gross. That's where all the transfers occur. Look how crazy it is. There's so many different ones everywhere, right? Because there's so many different types of cells that need different types of oxygen, right? Or maybe the same amount of oxygen. So you need to get it to every single person. How do you do that? You make a huge web of them, all spread it out everywhere, that we can get oxygen to everybody. And they go through the vein, okay, back to the heart. It's blue. It has no oxygen in it. It has carbon dioxide, okay? So the veins, they don't need to be as thick. And veins are the stuff you see on your skin, okay? I don't know if you can see mine, but they carry the blood towards the heart. They don't have muscles of their own, but they have valves, okay? So the valves are one-way valves. They open this way and they close and they can't go backwards. They only go that way. So that avoids anybody going back. You can't go back. It's a one-way street, right? Okay? And these are located closer to the surface, right? So you can see these ones. And then we got capillaries here. So they join the arteries to the veins. They have extremely thin walls to allow the transfer. Okay, it needs to be thin so that things can flow through really easily. And the nutrients and gases diffuse into the cells. The waste diffuse from the cells into the capillaries, into the blood, and they take it out. All right, so check this out. This is how it works. So we got red. It goes with the oxygen it provides. Okay, it drops it off in the capillaries. Then it becomes blue, deoxygenated, and it takes up carbon dioxide and waste, any garbage we don't need, and it takes it back to be expelled. All right, before we close out here, we got to talk about the main guy, the heart. Okay, the heart is the driving force. Okay, the pump. That's what he's doing. He's pumping it. He's pumping. He's making the flow of the bloods in the circulatory system possible. All right, it has 4 chambers, and it contracts about 70 times per minute. Matters how old you are and how healthy you are. For me, my resting heart rate is about 69, 70, something like that. Let's look at the anatomy of the heart. What does anatomy mean, by the way? It means the inside. Okay, it's like a cross section. What's inside of it? What makes up the organ? So we're gonna look at the heart here. It is a type of muscle not found anywhere else in the body. Okay, it's only in the heart. There's no other place in the body with that type of muscle fibers. All right. It has 4 chambers, left and right, and top and bottom. All right. Now they gave cool names to them. So you got left and right atria. Okay, atria is at the top, and then you have left and right ventricles. All right. They've got 2 different names because they have 2 different jobs. So the left ventricle is the strongest of the chambers. I will tell you why. The left ventricle is the last ventricle or last chamber in the pump that squeezes to send the blood all over the body. So it has to be the strongest, right? The other guys are sending it from maybe one compartment to the next, maybe to the lungs, close by. But the last one, the left ventricle, is sending it to the whole body. So all the way from your head, all the way to your toes. So it needs to be strong. Each atria is separated from the ventricle by a valve, another one-way valve. We talked about this before. So it allows blood through, but not back. Okay, if it goes back, we're in big trouble. We got a video.
The normal heart has 2 sides, a right side and a left side, and 4 chambers, the top receiving chambers, or atrium, and the lower chambers, which are thick-walled pumping chambers, called ventricles. Red blood cell will come from either the superior vena cava or the inferior vena cava and enter into the right atrium. The blood then flows across the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle. The right ventricle then squeezes and ejects that blood cell into a vessel called the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery splits into 2 vessels, each going to the lungs. As that red blood cell makes its way through the lung, it returns through the pulmonary veins to the left atrium. That blood is now oxygenated. It's picked up oxygen, then goes across the mitral valve into the left ventricle, which does most of the work in terms of delivery of blood flow to the body. That blood cell is now ejected into the aorta to some organ or muscle or skin in the human body.
Now, you'll notice when he said right, it's our left. Well, it's because you're looking at a person's heart, okay? So it's facing this way. So their right is, if we're facing the diagram, is our left, okay? I know it's a little bit confusing. So my right is here, but the right atrium is on this side. So the blood comes in from wherever the body, maybe from the legs, okay? It came from the legs. It is deoxygenated and it has waste to get rid of. It's blue. So it comes in on the right. It goes in there and then it goes down to the right ventricle. The right ventricle pushes it and splits it into two, right and left lungs. Okay? That's where the exhale happens. So it releases the CO2 and captures the oxygen. Then it comes back into the left atrium, where it is pushed down into the the left ventricle. Messed up already. Where it is the strongest pump. Don't forget, left, strongest. Okay? Where then it pumps really hard into the aorta, which splits it everywhere. Okay? And boom, it goes crazy. It goes everywhere into the body. Here we have activity 2. You want to give it a shot? And are we done? Yes, okay, so that concludes chapter 2, all about the circulatory system. Join us for episode 3, where we talk about the digestive system.